Awesome, cool. Okay. Welcome everybody to Arcol's first webinar, first of many to come. And so I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to it. I've got my little brief preamble. So today we're going to be looking at quick metrics for a mixed use project. Hopping in here. Quick note on vibes. I was already talking about it kind of as you were all joining, but webinar is a very formal feeling thing for me. I don't want this to be super formal. Obviously, you're all muted and I'm the one talking at you, but I do want to make use of the chat. Feel free to ask me questions all the way through related to the webinar or not, and I'll get to whatever I can. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves. I want this to be more kind of like a live stream. So that's the vibes. A little bit about me. So head of product at Arcol. I'm the sole Canadian on the team. I had a life in architecture previously, actually as a registered interior designer, but I've done a little bit of everything. So I've done some kind of building stuff too. This is my third startup. This is definitely the earliest in a startup that I've joined, and it's been a lot of fun so far. Okay. So hopping right into it, the current workflow. So I think this picture kind of sums it up. So we talk to a lot of architecture firms, and everybody does things a little bit differently, but kind of generally still the same. And so there's a lot of tools that go on. We've seen everything from blocks in AutoCAD that are linked through to Excel sheets, to people doing kind of super thick floors in Revit to represent floor-to-floor heights when they're doing massing stuff, to doing full-on site planning in Bluebeam. And the commonality among all of it is that none of those tools are meant to do those things. They're all kind of workarounds and hacks, and there's always some pain involved and a lot of loss of time. And so Arcol makes feasibility faster. That's what we're going to be talking about today. That's what I'm going to be showing you. We have a much more grand, longer-term vision that we've spoken about a lot. If you're interested in that, you can just go to arcol.io, and we've blogged about it a bunch. You can read about the blogs there. So just, I guess, at a high level, before we hop into the actual project here, you can, with time, make multi-plot, multi-building projects and get all the metrics and all that stuff for it. You can start at a high level, kind of Excel level fidelity. That's where we're going to be living today. And you can go right down into nitty gritty to actual presentation sheets with live updating data and stuff. We're going to show some of that today. But just to give you a quick sense of the breadth of Arcol, if we go now into the actual project. So our brief for today, what we're going to be doing is pretending we have a client that is acquired the property that the Hyatt Regency in Chicago is in, and basically we're going to blow it up. We're going to build a new building. We're going to do a couple options for them. It's going to be mixed use. There's some data here around where the site is, what the setbacks are, what the FAR is for the site. The client is asking for around 300 residential units with the target mix across studio, 1-bed, 2-bed, 3-beds of these things. And they want commercial around 200,000 square feet. So that's what we're going to be working in today. So let's hop in here. So blank empty file. First thing we're going to do is set up our site. And so I'm going to go set up project location. I've got this map now to work from. You can search by address, or in my case, I'm going to go by postal code. You can go lat long if you want as well. There's a Hyatt Regency right there. Now I've got some options within this if I want to. So there's a default size of context that's going to bring in. So this purple square here basically says everything within that is going to bring in all the existing buildings, and it's going to bring in an underlay of the map. But I can change this if I want to. So I could bring in some more if I want, or I could bring in less. It's really how tight you want to scope it. I can choose what I want that image underlay to come in as. So either just this default map, black and white to keep it simple, or satellite underlay. This is pretty common for people, maybe not so much in an urban area, but for other sites, people like it to be able to see existing trees, stuff like that. Let's just stick with the defaults for now. Now, because the site is in the US, I get to do something really cool, which is use regrid. And so Regrid is a service we integrate with that has parcel data for all of the US. And what you'll see what happens. Basically, I check this box, I click next, and now I see all the parcels for all of Chicago. And so I come in here, I say, this is my site. I can pick as many as I want. We'll just do the one site for today. And then I click save. And there we go. I've got my site brought in right away here with all of the surrounding buildings, that map underlay that I talked about. And I just have to go in here, basically delete the existing buildings off the site. And now I've got an empty site to work with. Let's go ahead and add those setbacks next. So as a reminder here, we have 70-foot high for your first setback. So we'll go ahead and add that in here. When you're adding a setback, well, here, let me slow down. So select my site, set a height reference point. This is basically for if you have a slope site or something like that. The setbacks, you'll see the site volume has a flat top on it. And so it's determining where do you want to take that height from. And so I think by different zonings, it's an average of grades across four corners of your building. It kind of varies what you want, but in this case, it's a fairly flat site, so we can just go right in the middle. And we'll add our first setback. Now, the first one we're going to do basically just as a general volume that we're working with. So let's put them all to right to the edge of the site. And I believe we said it was 70 feet, right? Yeah, 70 feet high. So 70 feet. You can see here, I'll turn up the opacity a little bit, but you're already getting a bit of a volume here that you can work within for your site. We'll add our second setback, which is 30, 30, 40, 0. Okay, so this side, well, let's make it easy. So you can set them all to be the same if I want. I could start like this, or you can tab through, or you can click whichever one you want. So in this case, we said it was 30, 30, 40, 40, and 0 on the side there. And then that one has a height of 350 feet. So let's go here. Oops, I think I just reset all my stuff. Oops. Let's redo that. All right, 30, 30, 40, 40. Cool. And that's a height of 350 feet. And make it a little easier for you to see what we just did here. So now I've got this site envelope ready to go. So I know when I'm designing the building, based on the zoning, this is the box that I can fit inside. Like I said, as I'm going through, if you have questions, if you want me to try something, or you say, what happens if you do that, please put it in the chat. I'm happy to answer questions. So let's crank it back down just for while we're modeling. Okay, so next thing we may want to do, Arcol at its heart is really a collaboration communication tool. So yes, you're designing the building. Yes, you're going to get the data. I'm going to show you how to do that. But it's also about conversing with your owner and your client and having discussions about what makes good architecture and what would be great for the site based off of their brief. So you can see here, this is existing skywalk, and I might want to call it out. So I could come in here and just say, I want this thing to be red to really stand out. So I can have a discussion about how that thing connects to this building over here. And I've turned my site around, but this is north going up towards the river here. So I may say, well, you know what? The south and west buildings here, they're going to cast some shadows on me. So I want to call those out, and let's make them semi-transparent just to look a little nicer. So now I can start talking to the client. Well, hey, there's this existing skywalk. We want to connect to it. What does that look like? I've got these buildings on the south and the west. They're going to cast these shadows. Let's have a conversation about how we should place our units and arrange the building accordingly. You could also, there's nothing stopping you from saying, I want to call out some view out this way. Let's scribble in a really quick arrow here. There's nothing stopping you from diagramming in here either, right? And saying, as part of conversations, this view out this way is super important, and actually just model it in here. But yeah, let's get into the building itself. So let's do a podium for the base, the commercial podium. So I'm going to just snap to my setbacks here. I already have a sense of, okay, well, here, let me go here. So 32,000 square foot is about the size of the podium. let's extrude it up. And now if I select this extrusion that I just made, I can split it into floors. And when I do that, now we got something that's looking more like a building. So I can come in here and say, this is all commercial. And I can already have a sense of, well, I skipped over this, I guess, but I already have a sense of site area based off of that site boundary that was picked. And now I know how much commercial I have based on this as well. Some stuff that we haven't added in, which we should have done, is we know that the max FAR of the site is 10. And so I can come in here and do that and immediately know what my max buildable area is. And then this chart changes now. So I know, okay, I've used up 56% of my max buildable. I also want to start getting a sense of how much parking is required. And so if I come in here, here's kind of our out of the box functions, we call them. Functions are like the Excel level fidelity stuff I was talking about. A lot of people do these numbers that I'm going to be getting. They actually do them in Excel at the outset just to get some basic programming and requirements. I'm going to go into commercial and add some parking requirements here. So you can do fixed. So just, I don't care. Just give me 500 stalls total for commercial. You can do per unit, which we'll get to in a second, and you can do by area. So for commercial, let's say for every 1,000 square feet, you need a parking stall. You can see here now, okay, I need 289 parking stalls based off of the area here. Let's close that. Oh, and I guess just a side note, again, it's super easy to stylize and change everything in Arcol to whatever you want to kind of make it a nice looking diagram for yourself. So I'll just call that out while I'm here. Okay, so we have no parking currently. We need 289 stalls. So let's go ahead and make one of the floors of the building here some underground parking. We'll sync the building later, but every floor in a building that you've created here has a floor plan. And so currently it's all the same floor plan. It's all been assigned commercial. So I actually want to make one of those floors unique. And so I'm going to create a separate floor plan. And I'm going to say this one is structure parking. And now I'm starting to get a parking count. And this today is based off of an area per stall that I've put in here. Again, same thing you would do in Excel. You're just getting it connected to a 3D model. So because I allocated a whole floor here to parking, I've obviously lost some commercial. I'm actually over my 200,000 square feet right now. So I could probably take a floor off, a couple floors off maybe. There we go. So I'm pretty close to that 200,000 square foot commercial. And now I currently have satisfied my parking. We can go ahead and move on to the upper part of the tower. So adding in those residential units. And this is where it gets really cool. So let's go in here. Let's actually just, for starters, let's trace the entire thing. Now you could do this in a variety of ways. So what I was just showing you with creating new floor plans, that applies to geometry as well. So if I was to change this, this floor plan, it would only affect that floor. In this case, I'm doing it a different way where I'm doing an entirely different mass on top. But let's go ahead and do that. Split into floors again. And now we can say we want it to step back however far. So let's say we want it to be, let's bring it back actually, type in a number. So I want it to be a 30-foot step back here. So 30, 30. And Arcol is fully parametric. So if I don't like how this angle looks here and I don't want it to perfectly match, I want it to be a little more interesting, I can always come back into it and I can adjust the sketch and tweak it to make it, you know, maybe some sharp thing like that. Now we're going to make this all residential, like so. And now we've got unit counts ready to go for us. And so I'll show you how to do this for a commercial as well if we want to. But again, this is based on out-of-the-box values. And so the client in this case has requested very specific unit mix that they want. And so to change that, we're going to go here into our residential. Here's a bunch of unit types that have been created with a unit mix. And they wanted 30, 30, 25, 15. And so let's go back in here and go 30, 30, 25, 15. There we go. And so these numbers, I don't know if you noticed, but they tweaked slightly. You can also then come in here and again, set the size or parking requirements. This is out of the box stuff. You can tweak it based on whatever the zoning requirements are. So I'll just change these all slightly to be nice round numbers. And maybe our 3 beds we want actually to be a little bit bigger. Let's go 1,000 square feet. Cool. Okay. So based off all that, we know we've got 120 units. The client wants 300 units. So we got to add a bunch more floors. And you can see here, I've actually at this point exceeded the FAR. So I have too many units. So it's not a bad thing, but I know I'm past my max FAR. So I want to go like this. And I'm just around the 300 unit mark. So this is good. Now I've got all this unused height, right? And by default, again, these floors are all 10-foot floor heights. I can go in and start tweaking and massaging that too. So let's say I actually want extra high floors for my residential. So I'm going to go 14 feet, and the very top floor is going to be a penthouse floor with nice, tall 20-foot floors. I can do that. You saw how easy that was. I would now go back. Okay, so now I've added all these residential units. Now there's a bunch more parking. Okay, Stan asked, does it account for hallways, elevator, court, etc.? Yes, we will. Oh, in this particular case. Okay, so yes, good question. I actually skipped that. Thank you. So in each of these building functions, again, like you would do in Excel, if you're working at this level, you can assign an efficiency, which then accounts for core, hallways, all that kind of stuff. So I've got 316 units. Say I know I'm going to have more hallway or something like that, and I knock that efficiency down. Now I've lost all those units based off of that efficiency. So you can absolutely use efficiency at this level. And then, like I mentioned at the beginning, at a lower level, you can get in really nitty gritty and actually draw in the hallways and stuff once you're past this point. Okay, so we have more parking that we need now. So let's go ahead. We're way short on parking. So let's make a few more floors of this parking. And actually, let's make it a little easier to understand what's what. So I'm going to rename this floor plan parking. And I now have enough parking, but I don't have enough commercial. So I'm going to add again those floors back. Obviously, my building's all overlapping itself right now, so I'm going to have to bump that building down and a couple floors. And we could actually, now at this point, we have our units, we've got our commercial, our parking's met. And so we could sink the whole building down to make that underground parking properly underground. So I'm just going to a move tool here. I'm going to drop it down an entire floor. So in this lower case, that's 10 feet. And now I've got my parking underground. I've got my building ready to go. I've got one option ready to go. And so now I'm going to move into another option. And that's as easy as on the left here, saying I want a new option. You saw everything disappeared just because when you're on an option, everything you model gets put onto that option, but it's really easy to move stuff around, and you'll see. So you could start completely from scratch, or in this case, I might be happy with my podium and how that's all set up. And so I'm going to come in here and just assign it to both options. And then in that case, it shows on both options, whereas the rest of the stuff doesn't. Andrew's asking here, can you make the base map semi-transparent so the parking can be seen from the top? Not today, but if that's a helpful thing to you, yes, we can do it. That'll be my answer to a lot of questions, is if it's helpful to you, we can do it, but not currently today. Thanks, just curious. Okay, cool. So option 2. So we've got our podium that we're using for both options. So in this case, the option really is just we're going to change the top tower part and see what that looks like. So maybe we've got something, more curvy we want to do in this case. Actually, I wanted to do that the other way. Let's start from scratch here. So yeah, say I want some cool thing like this. something really interesting just to have a conversation with the client to see kind of how interesting they're willing to go. Again, this is all editable on the fly. Again, it shows you, okay, I know how much square footage I've got here. Same process. I'm going to push pull that, split into floors, make it residential, change my floor to floor heights again, probably. And I don't have quite enough units yet, so let's add a couple floors here. There we go. So we've met our unit counts that we need. The podium's the same, so commercial hasn't changed, and we have, I think, yeah, about the same parking and same requirements all apply. I'll call it at this point. So, I mean, toggling between the options is really easy. Other metrics that you get while you're doing this is I've already talked through, okay, the different building functions and the different units that you're getting and parking requirements. There's more stuff here. So it's calculating carbon on the fly. And so you're getting a sense of embodied and operational carbon. Well, let's do it. So if I add on this option here, say you've got some landscaping out front. I'm going to, and you can see actually there's a little terrain going on here because that's actually going into the terrain. But if I make that landscape and just scooch it up a couple here, now I've got some storage carbon as well. So it's all real time while you go. And you can change a whole bunch of stuff here. So your structural system, window to wall, how much AC coverage you've got, all that stuff will affect your carbon. And also, if you're interested, you can get costing on it. So you can apply a cost per square foot for all those different functions. You can go a yield, income per square foot, so you can get a sense of yield, average cost per square foot, all that stuff if that's helpful to you or to the owner or whoever. Jerry asking, can you copy paste the residential option from option 1 and edit the design for option 2? Can you copy and paste the residential? Yes. So you can. Let me copy and paste. And then I guess this one would be gone. So let's move this one back into place where it was. So I guess there you can loosely move it, or I could actually use the move tool to make it more accurate. And then at that point, it's the same thing. I would basically just adjust whatever I'm adjusting. And these are now, because they're copied, they're, oh, I think that one didn't go on the right option is why. There we go. That should be on option 2. So now you've got your copy pasted tweaked option as well. And I think I just closed chat somehow. How did that happen? There we go. Cool. Okay, so you got your design options. You've got all of your metrics. Again, in conversation with your owner or internally, you can have a conversation of, okay, well, this is, I don't know, this is this much carbon, this is this much carbon, and that will change as you go on the fly and get a sense of comparing your units and your parking, all that kind of stuff. I'll show you, I guess, just really quickly. Say we wanted to propose to the client that actually, you have commercial and you have residential. Maybe you want a main floor retail here as well. It's as easy as coming in here. These are the out of the box ones, but we can make a new one. Just go retail, and it gives a default color. You can change it whatever you want. And then again, come in here, we'd make a new floor plan. We can call it, say, the retail floor or main floor or whatever you want to call it. And now you've got something that, oh, whoops, I didn't assign it actually. Now you can say that's retail and it just go on your way. So you can create all these types on the fly. You can adjust the colors and graphics, whatever you like as well. Okay, now let's move towards something more like this. So boards are the 2D side of Arcol. It's where we do documentation. You can do the very beginning of a project. If I've got like some inspiration images and mood board stuff, you can collaborate that way and use it the same way as you would a whiteboard. But you can also use it at the end now, like I'm going to show you here, for creating, say, sheets. So I've actually got a template that I already made. So I've got an Arcol template all ready to go. And let's say we care a lot about the north elevation and we want to show it off. Let's show just the building. So I can turn off all the base here, and we don't actually want that arrow anymore. So we can get rid of it. I'll set up my view, drag my elevation here. That can go on a sheet. And you can now start to do some annotation on the view here itself if you want. So we've got all your basic tools. If you're wanting to call out, I don't know, something about the podium and you want it to be some kind of a hazy fill over top to call out some particular thing with like a dashed border, you can absolutely do that. You can, say we want to call out specifically that the top floor, the penthouse floor, is like a 14-foot, or what did I say? It's 20-foot floor to floor, right? You can just go ahead and start creating your sheet this way. And then what I mentioned at the beginning, which is brand new, like as of yesterday, is you can start putting metrics on here that are live linked. So back in the day, I used to do all this stuff in InDesign super manually, but you come in here, basically you drop on this, you choose the view that you want to be your source of data, and you choose what the metric is that you want to show. So let's say building total area, and it's all going to happen, immediately. And so let's do this. Let's do, say, total units here. And what was the other metric that they cared about? It was commercial square footage, right? So they wanted 300 units. They wanted 200,000 square foot of commercial area. Oh yeah, I assigned a floor retail, so I haven't quite met that still. And now the great thing is that you never have to touch these. You never have to change these again. So for example, 316 units, if I come back here and I lop a couple floors off, I'm down to 170 units. Here, boom, it's all updated. No more manually changing stuff. So this is the extra cool part about Arcol. And this is, as far as I know, this is unique to Arcol. So I'm really trying to save you time on that in terms of how you share, present your work. You can, like I said, you can make templates. You can share this out actually as a digital sheet set if you want. Or you can drop it off as a PDF. Coming to now, how do you hand this off to other tools? So you don't have to use these boards. If you prefer to manually update things in InDesign, that's totally cool. You can export stuff as, so GLB is just like a generic 3D format if you want to dump it into Rhino as a mesh or something like that. STL, that would let you bring it into SketchUp, and you can edit in SketchUp and continue on your way there. CSV is going to give you all those metrics in the right sidebar, just as a CSV that you can do more stuff with in Excel. Of course, you can get images out of it. So you dump whatever images out as a 4K screen capture, or you can download it as an Arcol file. And that would let you, combined with our Revit add-in, let you dump it into Revit as a Revit mass and then continue on your way in Revit as well. So pretty easy off-ramp into other tools. I guess while I'm here, just to kind of come to the end, if at the beginning of a project for importing, you can bring in images for underlays, 3D models, all these different file formats. They come in as a mesh, so they're not editable, but you can bring them in as a reference and move them around your scene and scale them, do that kind of stuff. And DWG. So if you have a site boundary from a client, and you don't want to use the regrid boundary like I showed you, you could dump in that DWG and create your site boundary that way. Or if you have whatever, some sort of a site layout in DWG, you can bring that in as well. I think since I've already kept you like 2 minutes over, I'll give you just a little teaser of kind of how we got to this, just to set you up for the next webinar we'll do. So I kind of alluded to it while I went, but each of these are their own floor plan. I can totally come into any of these and start splitting them up into further areas. So at a high level, I could say I want half to be residential, half to be commercial, but the whole thing we didn't cover at all today is area plans and these area types. So you can start to say, this piece is a 1 bed, this is a 2 bed, this is a 3 bed. You can draw on your corridors. You can do all that stuff, and that'll then take you from the Excel level of detail and your kind of automatically generated unit counts to very specific unit counts based off of the area plans that you've created. So I will wrap up on that unless any flurry of questions come in. Happy to answer any other questions. If you enjoyed this and you want to learn more and you want to chat with us, you can go to arcol.io. There's a big book demo button there, and you can pick a time that works for you, or you can just email Paul or myself. Paul, our CEO, his email is paul@arcol.io, and my email is mike@arcol.io. And we look forward to hearing from you. I'll do a final like 1, 2, 3, go if there's any other questions to come in before we wrap up here. Any last questions? Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.